Hi, fourth grade. Today we're going to go over days 8 and days 9 of the Virginia Studies in Learning Packet 4. I know we were supposed to do day 8 yesterday, and I'm sorry that this is late and that I'm combining them together, but I think it's very important that we go through the reading and we talk a little bit about the Civil War. This is all new content. I'm really disappointed that we didn't get to do this in our classrooms, and I know Miss Zaleski, Miss Dart, and Miss Nichols feel the same way, because this unit is a really important one, and it's really interesting to get to teach and get to talk about it with you guys. So in place of getting to talk about it, I'm going to kind of read through these things, kind of give you some pointers for doing the work for each day. If you've already done day 8, great. You can either fast forward this video or you can listen and make sure that you did your day 8 work correctly. So let me share my screen with you real quick and we'll go through the reading. We'll go through the activity for today. Okay, takes just a minute to share. Here we are. So day 8, the learning opportunities were to read paragraphs 1 through 3 of the text titled Major Civil War Battles Fought in Virginia. These are going to be on my slides. If you do these on Google Classroom, of course, then you're going to see them on the slides your teachers have made. If you are doing it on the packet, then of course it's going to be the article that's in your packet. We're going to use the graphic organizer that's attached either in the packet or digitally on the slides to fill in the information for the following battles and events. Today we're going to read about the first Battle of Bull Run and the Battle of Fredericksburg. Then we're going to label the locations of those battles and events on the major battles and events of the Civil War in Virginia map. So again, for day 8, we're talking about the first Battle of Bull Run and the Battle of Fredericksburg. Now, as you probably guessed, from the title, the first Battle of Bull Run, there were actually 2 battles of Bull Run. So that's always something that's really, really interesting to me. Oh, and it moved back instead of forward. Sorry, sometimes these are very tricky. All right, here we go. All right, so you can follow along with me. If you're looking on the screen, you can also sit with a piece of paper and make sure that you write down some of the important things. Our graphic organizer, let's look at what that looks like before we start reading. So if you have the graphic organizer, whether it's on the slides or on the paper in the packet, go ahead and pull those out so that you can make sure that you have everything down as you listen and as you follow along. So we're going to be listening for the date, important people, why this was important, and who won. Virginia became a major battleground between Union and Confederate troops, and several Virginians played a significant role in the Civil War. The first Battle of Bull Run, also called the Battle of Manassas. So if you hear the Battle of Manassas being referred to, that's the first Battle of Bull Run, was fought in Northern Virginia on July 21st, 1861. It was the first major land battle of the Civil War. Confederate sometimes when I talk, it just goes a little fast. All right, so Confederate General Thomas Stonewall Jackson, thank you for being patient with me, guys, played a major role in this battle and received his nickname Stonewall after a Confederate general yelled, "See, there is Jackson standing like a stone wall. Rally behind the Virginians." The battle ended when the Confederate troops defeated the Union Army. So let's go back through our graphic organizer. So we just read about the first Battle of Bull Run. Location was Bull Run, also known as Manassas. Now, something I'm going to type in here is that I want to remember, just in case it shows up again, also called the Battle of Manassas. All right, so the date. So if we go back through and we can pick that date out. So what was that date? Did you pause it? Did you write it? All right, so you're going to write the specific date in there. So this should be, we were given a month, a day, a year. So just to remind you, month, day, year. important people. There was one very important general mentioned. What was his name? General. And why was this battle or event important? So when we go back through and we look at it and we read it, it was very important because it was it's the second sentence. So I'm going to do a fill in the blank here. It was the blank battle of the Civil War. So there's two words here that need to be filled in. So it was the blank battle of the Civil War. Who won? So remember that the winner is either going to be who? It's going to be the North or the South, or the Confederates or the Union. So who won? You're going to either give me North or South, or Union or Confederate. Either one is acceptable, so you're going to choose one of those. Now, when we come back up in our third paragraph, we're going to talk about the Battle of Fredericksburg. On December 13th, 1862, General Robert E. Lee, commander of the Army of Northern Virginia, defeated Union troops in the Battle of Fredericksburg, Virginia. It was one of the Union Army's biggest losses. So when we come back to the Battle of Fredericksburg, we see that our location's filled out. It took place in Fredericksburg, Virginia, Bull Run or Manassas, Virginia. So these battles were all Virginia, as it tells you here, so you don't need the Virginia part. Again, this gives us a specific month, day, year. Important people was General somebody. And why was this battle or event important? So when we go back through, this is just a very short couple of sentences. Defeated Union troops in the Battle of Fredericksburg, Virginia. It was one of the Union Army's biggest losses. So I'm going to start a sentence over here. It was one of the blank armies blank. So you're going to fill in the blanks here with those three words. Okay. So we have our sentence in there. And again, who won? Was it the North or South, or Union or Confederate? Now, when filling out this map, what's going to be very, very important is you kind of have to know where Manassas and Fredericksburg are. So I'm actually going to come over here and we're going to pull up a new tab and we're going to look up a map of Virginia. You guys can do this. All right, so we're going to look up where map of Manassas, Virginia. Let's see if we can bring that up. All right, and that doesn't really help us. So let's look at the other images because it doesn't give us much, does it? So we want to know where it is in the location of Virginia. All right, so see, it's up there towards the north. When we look at this map, it's clearly marked, so it'll be up towards the north. So it looks like it's really far north, doesn't it? So let's look for Fredericksburg. Because we know if the general of the Army of Northern Virginia was fighting, that Fredericksburg might be up north too. So we want to check and see how far north Fredericksburg is. And it's also very far north, isn't it? So now the tricky part becomes, well, what do we use? So let's go ahead and let's change our search a little bit. And let's go for map of Civil War battles in Virginia. Look, it pops right up. So this is going to help us out a little bit. So we're going to come and look at an image here. Let's see if we can bring it up. And it is completely okay for you to use your resources. And one of your resources, of course, is the internet. And that's very important. So we can see that we have Manassas here. Well, this doesn't show us everything. That's 1861, and we want all the battles. So Civil War battle maps. Let's see if that one will pull up. And that one's really hard to read. So I'm going to try to find one that's even better first grade in. So let's go 4th grade, because we're in 4th grade and this is 4th grade Virginia Studies. Oh, this is still really tricky to read, isn't it? 4th grade Virginia Studies. And it's okay to have to refine it a little bit. So and this still doesn't tell us, does it? That's 1862 battles, but we don't want 18. We want all the battles. Let's see. Okay. So we want Virginia map with Civil War. And see, it's important for us to go through these and see if we can find a good search term together. And it's an important skill for us to be able to search and find what we're looking for. So here we have Civil War battles in Virginia, 1864. We said we don't want that one. So we're looking for all right, and this is Virginia, and we're still looking. There's the Bull Run Mountains, but not quite what we want. And again, they have a lot of them listed by year, and main reason for that is because there were a lot of battles fought, so with major Civil War battles. So now we're going to see if that helps us. Because Mrs. Kite not being from Virginia, this kind of messes things up a little bit, doesn't it? So we're going to see major battles of the Civil War. Here we go. All right, so on this one, it's a little bit easier to see that Bull Run is indeed up above Fredericksburg, just a little bit. So when we come back over to our map, and thank you for searching with me, guys. That was really important. Oh, that's our math. Different video. All right, so when we come back over to our map, we are going to make sure that the Battle of Manassas or Bull Run is going to be up towards the top. So here, if you're doing it on the slide, you have to click that little box with a T in it to type in there. So I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to type 1, the Battle of Bull Run, and over here. And the reason why I want to do this together is because we don't have a map in front of us, and usually in Virginia Studies in our notes we would have it. All right, and 2. So that's where your Battle of Bull Run and your Battle of Fredericksburg are. And we're going to go over this because we don't have a map included in our thing. So we're going to look at maps together. Does this mean that we might have to go through and do some Google searches? Yes, it does. Make sure you're paying attention to how we have to change those search terms, because this is an important thing for us to learn how to do. All right, so now that we've got that, we're going to go ahead and go on to day 9. So today we're going to read paragraphs 4 to 6 of the text titled Major Civil War Battles Fought in Virginia. On the graphic organizer titled Important Civil War Battles and Events in Virginia, we're going to fill in the information for the following battles and events: the Battle of Monitor and Merrimack, which I can't wait for us to read about this, because if you've ever been on the Monitor and Merrimack channel, you guys will know where this was. All right, the Battle of Richmond and Lee surrendered to Grant. We're going to label the locations of the following battles and events on the major battles and events on the Civil War in Virginia map, and we're going to do that together. The Battle of the Monitor and Merrimack, the Battle of Richmond, and where Lee surrendered to Grant. All right, so during the Civil War, President Lincoln used the Union Navy to block many of the southern ports. In March of 1862, an important sea battle took place between two ironclad ships. Ironclad ships were the big, huge ships, the big Navy ships. The Monitor, which was a Union ship, and the Merrimack, which was a Confederate ship. This battle took place in Virginia waters near Norfolk and Hampton. As a matter of fact, that's where that bridge is. The battle was fought to a draw, which means a tie. So over here, when we're filling out the graphic organizer, the date of the Battle of the Ironclad Giants was, there's no day here, so it is going to be a month and a year. So make sure you put the month and year there. And here. The important people in this one is, there's only one person mentioned. That would be President. Somebody. All right, why was this battle important? This battle was important because of the ports were being, well, this battle was between two certain kinds of ships, to something ships, and it was fought to a, so over who won, you're going to again give me, was it North or South, Union or Confederate? And if you are listening, another option is no one, because if it was fought to a draw, what does that mean? Who won? It's completely okay to say no one. So we'll go ahead and put that. Or, and then or, there you go. All right, now if that's between Norfolk and Hampton, which we live over near, then that's going to be over here. We are located in this area. This is where Hampton Roads is, and we live in Hampton Roads community. So this battle took place right there. We're going to go ahead, and that is our Battle of Hampton Roads, which was the Battle of Monitor and Merrimack. So Hampton Roads being right there. All right, so now we're going to go back to the next battle. On April 2nd, 1865, a major battle took place in Richmond, the capital of the Confederacy. Richmond fell to Ulysses S. Grant in the Union. Retreating Confederate forces set fires throughout Richmond to keep war supplies away from the Union Army. This is really important, guys. The Confederate forces burned Richmond, the now capital of Virginia, the then capital of the Confederacy, to the ground because they did not want the Union to get their war supplies. They knew if they just left the city, all their supplies would be there, and that would make the Union even stronger. So they chose instead to set fires throughout the entire city of Richmond. So when we come over here to our graphic organizer, the date on this one was a month, day, and year. So we want to make sure that we have a month, day, year. Important person in this battle was a specific general on the Union side of things. This battle or event was important because of what happened to Richmond at the end of it. So make sure you put here what happened to Richmond at the end. All right, so here, who won? North or South. You can also call them or Union or Confederate or, oh, I forgot to put that there. Okay, so now Lee surrendered to Grant. We get to read about that next. But before we do, Richmond, if you guys remember our map of Virginia and where our star is, we're going to come over here to our map of Virginia because we can pull up Richmond right away with just a regular map of Virginia because it is our capital. So when we come over here, we look at our map of Virginia. Let's see if we can zoom in. That one's a little bit blurry. Aha, but you see how Richmond's really big here? It is right along this line here, and that is the fall line. Richmond, the city, is right on the fall line, guys. So we're gonna come over back to our map, and right here, that's the fall line. So this circle is where the fall line is. That's where Richmond is. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fill that in. So our Battle of Richmond, number 4. All right, now we're gonna go back to our major Civil War battles fought in Virginia, to our last event. On April 9th, 1865, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered his army to Union General Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia. The Civil War was finally over. So when we come back to our graphic organizer, we know this happened at Appomattox Courthouse in Appomattox, Virginia. And this does definitely have a month, day, year. Important people there are two for this one. General for the Union and the general for the Confederacy. Make sure that they are both included. Why was this battle or event important? And this battle or event was important because it was the blank of the Civil War. So now, who won? So that means who was being surrendered to, not who is surrendering, but who is being surrendered to. When you're surrendering, you are saying you are done fighting the war and you're taking the loss. But when you're being surrendered to, you're the winner. So it's north or south, or you can say Confederate or no one. All right, so make sure you fill that out, and we're going to come over here and we're going to finish filling out this map together. And we come over here, gonna use my little box of the T in it. And of course, there's only one more, and Appomattox is right over here. We don't have to look at the map for that. All right, so excellent job, guys. Thank you for joining me today as we work through that together. Make sure that you respond to the prompts and use evidence from the text to help you. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go through the slides slowly so you can pause and look at them. So the first one is the first set of reading from day 8. I'm gonna pause here if you need to read that a little more carefully. Here, we have prompts. Remember, this is not filled out. So if you give that to me or your teacher, this is not gonna count as a submission. You need to enter the information here. So go ahead and pause if you need to know exactly what you have to put in those boxes. You have some fill in the blank prompts. You have the beginning of prompts. You have what your date should look like. All right, we filled out this whole thing by looking up information together. So make sure that if you need to fill this out, you pause right here. All right, and then day 9, if you need to go back and read, pause right here. And if you need the prompts for the graphic organizer to fill in, pause the video right here. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for working with me. Make sure that you get your submissions to your teacher by the end of the week. That's 2 reading pieces of work, 2 writings, 2 content, that's Virginia Studies or Science, and 2 math. Also, if you have any questions, make sure to contact your teacher. Make sure to keep up to date with, we'll have these help sessions often. Join us for our Zoom sessions from 11 to 12 each day. You will leave with some of your work completed and you get to have some good discussions. For example, today, Miss Dulesky told us a lot about the Civil War and we got to have a very good discussion about it. So I hope to see you soon. Stay awesome 4th grade and remember, we're better together. Bye guys.